Thank you so much for joining us on the last matters arising in the month of September. It is the 30th of September, the last Saturday in the month of September, as we'll be saying welcome October, tomorrow Sunday, which will be the 1st of October. It is matters arising on Prime Television, Zambia. I am your host. My name is Kelvin Tabula Chifoko. Now, yesterday, the Minister of Finance announced the 2024 national budget, and we begin by, dissecting and analyzing the national budget. And there are some pronouncements that the minister made yesterday, and we'll be able to delve in one of the pronouncements which has elated this, sector or Zambians who are, innovators, and they are very excited with the pronouncement that was made yesterday. And we'll be able to talk about what they feel should be done and the proposals that are putting on the table for government to implement. Is Zambia ready for electric vehicles? That is the question that we are posing tonight, and my guest will be able to respond to the question of if at all Zambia is ready. We are told there is a joint venture between Zambia and Congo DR to manufacture electric batteries, and so my guest is Zambian Electric Mobility Innovation Alliance ZEMIA co-founder and president Kabayo Mohau. Good evening and welcome to Matters Arising, Kabayo.
Good evening, and thank you very much, and we're happy to be here.
Thank you so much. How is ZEMIA?
No, ZEMIA is okay. We've been pushing. I think we're now in most of our second year trying to push. So we've been trying to engage the government and trying to engage the sector.
So. How has been the response so far from government and other sectors that you've been engaging?
Yeah, we've been happy because last year, if you remember, in the current budget, the 2023 budget, we've been engaging the government to try to move them to ensure that they also get these incentives. As you may recall, in the country right now, we are not yet there, and because of the incentives which are not there on the ground. So we're looking at other countries which are progressive and how they are doing currently on the ground in terms of adoption of electric vehicles. So we came together and formed ZEMIA to push for the adoption of electric vehicles in the country. So basically, we're talking to government, other stakeholders, starting from the manufacturers, the miners, up to the end users who are drivers of electric vehicles. We're looking at what best cases like Norway, who are currently at 83% EV penetration. So last year, we engaged the budget office, the Minister of Finance of the budget office, to reduce these taxes, to give incentives so that we can have electric vehicles in the country. That led, of course, we're pushing for zero rating of customs and VAT and other incentives, but we were only given a 50% off. So from 30%.
That was last year?
Yes, the 2023 national budget. We did our submissions to the budget office, and we were very pleased that they were able to give us 15% off, though it was not enough, but it was a good start. Yeah, so this year, in this year's budget, we continue to push, and we're happy that from 15%, it has come down to zero on customs duties. But still, that's not enough. We still want to push because we still have a VAT component. We still have other incentives like on the road tax, the toll gates, and also the charging stations where we feel more can be done in terms of PPEs and also trying to come up with solutions on that sector.
Let's start with the 15%, which you said you were happy last year. Let's talk about what is it that you and other players managed to do with the 15%, if at all there was progress that was made, and if there was no much progress, what is it that hindered the progress?
Yeah, if you look at these components, let me take you back to the best case scenario of other countries like East Africa, Kenya for a start, Uganda, Ghana, Rwanda, how they're performing. It's because of these incentives which work in tandem, the number of incentives which are needed, not only one. So last year they were given a 15% off. So from 30% it came down to 15%. So from our research this year, when we looked at from the year when it started up to this month of September, the honest part is it hasn't done much. That's why we thought we'd get back to the government and tell them that 15%, yes, it was okay, but it wasn't enough to push the leapfrogging of acceleration of EVs. The reason being is you find if you only do one component, then the rest are not done, because then it won't be done. One thing we should talk about is charging stations are very important, because the charging stations and EVs, it's like a two-way scenario. It's like a chicken and egg. Which one came first? Do you want a charging station without a vehicle? The government also can't facilitate charging stations. They are not EVs. Currently, we've got only about 62 electric vehicles in the country.
62?
Only 62.
electric vehicles in the okay.
Which is actually actually about 0.06%, not 6%, but 0.06%. So if you look at 62 vehicles against the current population of about 800,000 vehicles in the country, which simply means we're still way, way, way below, very far to achieve the adoption of electric vehicles. What's the point? It's because people have got range anxieties. If they drive an electric vehicle, are they going to reach where they're going? So we need charging stations, which will be in a range of about 50 kilometers. And those are being things we've done also to Minister of Energy. I'm sure something is coming up. A policy should be done. We're also talking to ARB to reduce the electricity to have a normal tariff. By the end of the day, the benefits you get from an EV are astronomical in terms of the economic benefits to the country, in terms of the revenue, because you would know that the country spends $1.5 billion on importations of fuel, and that increases at 15% every year. And well, of course, 50% of that goes into mining and 50% into retail. So you look at reducing 50% of that bill. So meaning, for example, I'll give an example. Like Southern Cross Motors, they've got an electric vehicle, which is a GWM Aura. They brought that vehicle in the country. Right now, as we speak, it's there in the country. And it's got a range of like 550 kilometers. So let me give you a scenario of, say, you're going to Chipata, which is like 500 kilometers. If you have to spend fuel, and your fuel efficiency is about 12 kilometers a liter, you're going to use about 1,250, 1,300 kwacha on petrol. And if you're going to use the same vehicle to charge electricity, one kilowatt is about 1 kwacha 94 ngwe. By then the 65 kilowatt battery size of that vehicle, you're going to spend only about 125 kwacha. So the savings are massive. It's like a day and night. It's black and white. So why are people not moving in? It's because people don't have information. We need awareness, and also we need a lot of incentives, because electric vehicles primarily are expensive than internal combustion engines because of the components of the battery pack, because the battery is about 50%, 40% the price of the vehicle. So that's very expensive. So we find we need incentives like which the current government has now announced to bring down the taxes to zero. But still, we've taken out 15%. We still have 16% on VAT. So let's go back in 1991, 1992, somewhere there when Chilwa government took over government. We had a problem of public transportation. Many people spend so many nights at Intercity. UBZ that time was the only transport company.
3 days, 4 days.
Yes, actually 7 days. You're waiting for a bus. So what happened? Chilwa, he just woke up one day and said, no, we have to help our people. So all the taxes were zero rated on public buses. So we saw small buses, big buses coming into the country, and that problem is no longer an issue. We now actually have that thing has been sorted out. So that's the only way that we can leapfrog into these things. We know that East Africa, like I said, they're doing so much. They've got electric 2-wheelers, electric 3-wheelers, and buses, and carrying buses on their vehicles. So how have they done it? It's because the government is the biggest buyer, and the government needs to show that they're in front of it. Like I think we saw in this current, I think 2 weeks ago, there was an electric mobility week in Nairobi, Kenya, where even President Ruto was seen riding an electric vehicle from State House to the event to show they are supporting this. So we know our president is supporting this, but we need more to be done. One of the incentives and what we need the government to do is to put up policies like the government needs to buy at least, say, 50% of their fleet should be electric. So going forward, we expect the government to put such policies. If they can show that they're willing to get in, then everyone else will follow.
You've talked, before we talk about the incentives and the pronouncement which the minister made yesterday, you've talked about 62 vehicles at the moment in Zambia, which are electric. Are these vehicles moving? Because you've lamented issues of charging, and you've also talked about the expensive part, that 40%, the battery is almost 40 to 50%. The 62 that we have, are they moving? If at all they are moving, how are they being sustained?
Yeah, first of all, the challenges on these vehicles is I find actually bring them in is a challenge, because ZRI, even the HS codes on ZRI on EV vehicles is not really streamlined. We've got complaints from many importers of EVs that for the same vehicle, one is paying almost twice the amount, others paying almost nothing because of nothing streamlined. So these are 62 vehicles. Maybe let me break them down. Of these 62 vehicles, 30 are 4-wheelers, they're like cars. Then 15 of those are 2-wheelers, which are like motorbikes. Then 3-wheelers are tricycles. So, and I think 4 are commercial vehicles and 1 is a tractor. So of those, only like 30 are 4-wheelers and the rest are 2-wheelers. So we find in terms of charging, currently in the whole country, I think we've got about 5 chargers. We've got our friend Situmbeko Energy, who is part of ZEMIA. Greg and his team are doing a good job. They installed two AC chargers. These are 7.5 kilowatts. at the offices in Rotspark. So also because they belong to ZEMIA, are trying to push e-mobility, they've said anyone who's got an electric vehicle in the country can go to Rotspark and charge for free currently.
For free?
Yes, for free. Then also we've got the first DC fast charger. Kukula Capital have installed a DC fast charger at Foxdale Court. So this is a 50, 60 kilowatt DC fast charger. This can charge, I think, about 45 minutes or less. So then we've got about 2 AC chargers in Forest Gate. So those are the chargers which are in the country. And I think we've got some filling stations along Great East Road which they've put, but they're not yet operational. So in essence, we've got about 5. So most of them are charging from home. And the other thing, this is one thing which we're doing. So as ZEMIA, we've done quite a number of research, and we're publishing on our website. One of the research which we're currently doing is to understand the driving needs of users, being public users like buses, and also individuals like yourself and myself. To know, like, for example, I would say your home to work. How many kilometers do you cut in a day? Is it 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers? And if you have to put in school run, dropping some things, maybe it comes to 30. So if you're going to get a vehicle which is like 120 kilometers range, like a used Nissan Leaf, which you could have to have, and also Sevilla had a pilot project on the same, meaning it'll be able to help you. So sometimes you don't need a very big vehicle in terms of range. You can just get something which is reasonable, like 100 kilometers. It will help you. So we're trying to do that research for people to understand that the concern to say, if I go for work, my vehicle I'm not going to reach, is not really a serious concern, because research has been able to come out to say 80% of charging is done at home, because basically it takes about 4 hours to charge on a level 2 charger. Because Zambia, we're blessed, we've got 220 kilowatt, 220 voltage. In US, it's 110, which is level 1, so which takes about 8 hours. In Zambia, it's 220. So meaning, just by plugging onto your 220 socket, which you use to watch your TV, to charge your phone, the same socket in your home, you can charge your car. And that car can be powered in about 4 hours average. So meaning, you get home, by the time you go to bed, the same way you charge your phone, you just plug it on the charge. Overnight, it will be charged. So most of these vehicles in the country, they're being charged at home and from these chargers which I've mentioned.
The minister talked about removal of customs duties on all electric vehicles, 2, 3-wheelers and related equipment such as charging stations. As ZEMIA, how have you, I know that even reading this paragraph, it's nothing that I can get from here. As an expert, as ZEMIA,
yes,
how have you translated this, and how are you breaking it down to an ordinary citizen and also a Zambian who is saying, okay, this issue of e-vehicles is being implemented in other countries. What does it mean to an ordinary citizen like me?
Yeah, it means it's huge savings. It's huge savings along the way. Because if you look at the pronouncement which has been made, like we say, this is a step which we've been pushing for quite a long time. Even if ZEMIA was formed like last year, in the background we've been engaging government to see how they can bring down these incentives also to every Zambian in the country. And we're happy, like in 2023 budget, like you earlier said, 15% was taken off from 30% to 15%, and the next this 2024 budget has been taken off from 15% to 0. So it simply means it will be affordable to bring in an electric vehicle at the moment. And also simply means, and remember, an electric vehicle is a very sustainable vehicle. It's only got 20 moving parts. So maintenance of an EV is not the same as maintaining an internal combustion engine, which has got over 2,000 moving parts. To maintain those 2,000 moving parts, that's why you need your engine oil, you need your air filters, your fuel filters, your diesel filters. Those things are not there in an EV. So basically, there's no engine, there's no fuel filter, there's no diesel. So maintenance is very minimal. So basically, the maintenance on these EVs is about checking the battery cells in that vehicle. How healthy are they, and the like. That's why in ZEMIA we've got 7 work groups, which includes workforce, academic and workforce, which looks at the programs to implement so that we can retrain our personnel, we can retrain the technicians. So we're talking to TEVETA to ensure that we come up with the right programs for technicians to do these things, because the current crop of personnel that we have, the technicians, they will not be able to do that, because an EV is more like technology based on a PC and also on electrical side. So you need to service a charging station, you need to service an EV as well. So you find in terms of the incentives which have been come about, it makes it easier for a private citizen to be able to own an EV, and it's will be cheaper for them to maintain.
You've talked about African countries, and first of all, let us dwell on African countries. Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Ghana. You said these are countries that are doing better.
Yes.
What is it that has been implemented? Is it the government that has been in the forefront? Is it the private sector that has been in the forefront in pushing the e-vehicle for them to have a successive story today that these things are happening in our friends' countries? And what is the call that ZEMIA is making to the Zambian government, the Zambian people, and the private sector?
Yeah, so they've been very, very forward thinking in terms of what to do, in terms of bringing programs together. First of all, we need right policies and also standards. Currently in Zambia, we don't have anything on the ground. We don't have policies, we don't have standards. So if I'm going to import a charging station, what is recommended for Zambia? Are we going to import CCS2? Are we going to import type 2 chargers? Are we going to import CHAdeMO chargers? So these are type of DC chargers for electric vehicles. Or are we going to import the North American charging standards? Which one is it? So in Kenya, they've got the right policies in place which they've put up to be able to adopt so that everyone else moves in the same direction. And these are the things which are talking to the government through the Ministry of Energy as well as Energy Regulation Board to have standards, through also Zambia Bureau of Standards, to ensure they've got proper standards which everyone can follow. Once the right policies are put in place, because with the right policies, then everyone else will be able to fall in line and be able to do these things. So the private sector has been pushing those in Kenya, like it is in Zambia. Sowilo Energy and Kukula Capital to bring in the DC fast chargers and the other people in the country. I'll give an example, like even we've got Spartan Industries, which have brought in the two-wheelers, the three-wheelers currently, electric tricycles. They didn't wait for the government to bring in these incentives. So the private sector in Zambia, we are pushing for that. We didn't wait for the government, but we've been pushing. But it will be easier. We need the government to come on board to make it easier, and also so that this adoption can be done quickly. Otherwise, we have to leapfrog to the first round. As you know, Zambia are sitting at the right place. We've got the right minerals. We've got the cobalt. We've got the copper. We've got the nickels. Actually, the nickel mine by First Quantum mine in Solwezi, it will be the biggest nickel mine in Africa. And nickel is one of the most important minerals which are needed on an EV. So we can take the advantage of these things and also manufacture these things. As you know, Zambia has been more like we've been at the forefront of exporting, how can I say, more like being a big quarry. We've been exporting copper. We're not even putting anything to it. We're not adding value. We're not even processing anything. We're just sending them as it is. We're now at a time when we can take advantage of our own destiny as Zambia, so that we can ensure these minerals, instead of exporting them, we make Zambia as a hub for manufacturing these minerals. That's why we, in our last meeting which we had between the US and Zambia battery EV a workshop, we did push for the right incentives. This means the special economic zones which the minister mentioned. We need a lot of these in the country. Like we've got MFAs and we've got many of them. So we need those to be actualized, and so that they're extended to Zambians as well as foreign investors to ensure that we've got capacity to manufacture batteries, because manufacturing batteries is not an easy thing. So we need a lot of incentives on those, and also from government to have those things on the ground.
It looks to be a complicated, undertaking. I hear you've continued to talk about the Ministry of Energy. But when we look at ZEMIA, when you look at what we are discussing, it's like you also fall under the Ministry of Transport and Logistics. You keep on talking about policies. Again, when I look at it, importation, doing business, I'm also thinking that, okay, we also need the Ministry of Commerce to also be part of this, thing. It looks to be very complicated. For us to have right policies, which ministry are we looking for to help us? Is it the Ministry of Transport? Is it the Ministry of Energy? Is it the Ministry of Commerce? Or it is the Ministry of Finance?
That's a very good question, and I'm happy about it, because these are stakeholders which we are talking to. There are quite a number. I think there are more than 20. We've got the same Minister of Energy, which is because of the electricity charging side of it, and because also Minister of because ZESCO falls under those things. When you're going to apply to put a charging station, ERB is going to come in to tell you, okay, where you're going to put, are you going to have the right electricity, and is everything going to be okay? Then ZESCO are going to show you those things. Then you've got Minister of Commerce also going to push in the business. We've got also the Minister of Green Economy and Environment also in that. We've got the Minister of Finance. We've got, it's quite a whole list. We've got also across the government departments under there, which is Zambia Bureau of Standards. We've got ZRI. So the list is quite extensive to reach in all the stakeholders. But these are stakeholders that we're working with. And I'm happy to also mention that as ZEMIA, because of our efforts to push for the adoption of electric vehicles, we looked at what we can do. We reached out to a Drive Electric campaign. This is a group in Germany, also being funded by Rockefeller in USA, being managed by so we managed to push for a project which we'll be implementing from this month, September, which we call Zambia Immobilized Project. This is a project to electrify public transportation in the country, because we saw like how can our people be able to understand and have a feel of electric vehicles. The quickest way will be through buses, because many people are using public transportation. So currently we've been given some funds, a grant, for a period of 2 years to implement public transportation, electronic public transportation. So we're doing a research to see how we can quickly electrify public transportation. So we'll soon be able to invite more stakeholders, the ones you've mentioned, and more of them to come on board and be able to see what we're doing and how we can make this a reality.
You've talked about these cars being charged, that you need to charge them. Again, issues of load shedding or load management, issues of power. Somebody who is watching is saying, if at all in my area we've been load managed or load shedded for 2 days, it means no movement. Do you think we've got enough power in terms of electricity so that we can have these vehicles? Do you think Zambia has everything that it takes for us to have these vehicles?
Yeah, the good thing is, power in Zambia is clean energy. Most of our power is coming from hydro and solar and the like. In terms of capacity, we did a small research. We haven't yet extended to the whole country, which we'll do soon. We did a research at Levimo, which we did a scenario to say, if Levimo, all the cars which are parking there were electric vehicles, what is the capacity to be needed to charge those vehicles? And we did find that the capacity of Levimo is not enough to support electric vehicles. So we extended the country in simulation to see how it is. So we need almost like double the power that we have to enable all the vehicles to be charged at the same time. So that's why we're also pushing for the government to ensure that investors who are coming into the country to put up solar charging stations, to put some wind power, the bureaucracy is removed, because we know sometimes as much as 6 months a contract is taken to the Attorney General, it's not being worked on. Agreements which are being signed with ZESCO are taking over 6 months to a year. There are a lot of things which are working in the background, but we hope bureaucracy can be removed so that these projects can come online. We know the president has mentioned a lot of projects coming from China, from UAE, where they're going to like invest in the country in terms of power, but we want these things to be actualized, because the current power that we have is not enough. But again, on the other side of the coin of it, an electric vehicle is a portable power station. I'll give an example. In your house, say you're a family of 6, you need about 3 kilowatts to about 5 kilowatts for you to have your fridge, your power, your TV, your radio, everything else to work in your house. So you need about 5 kilowatts. Minimum power on an electric vehicle is about 30 kilowatts. The example I gave you on the 65 kilowatts, that's about 65 kilowatts. So meaning that same vehicle can power your home. So if you can use 5 kilowatts in a day, then you're able to, from the 65 kilowatts, so that vehicle can actually power your home for the whole week. Currently, there's some technologies being worked on vehicles. So the newer vehicles being released right now, they've got a technology called the V2G, which is vehicle to grid. So you can actually get your power from the vehicle to your house. From your house to your vehicle? Yes, vice versa. So that's the goodness about an EV. So as much as it's moving, it's only mobile power station. So that thing, on one side, yes, we're urging the country, the government to ensure they've got more power. Also at the same time, the vehicle can hold your power in your home. You can use it to charge it. So most of these vehicles are now coming with some adapters inside, some sockets, so you can use it to power your events, your systems, wherever you're going.
Kawaii, before I open the phone line and allow people that are watching to call us, and also maybe they have got questions to engage you. Viewers, the topic is Zambia ready for electric vehicles? With that pronouncement by the minister, remove of custom duties on all electric vehicles, 2 to 3 wheelers and related equipment such as charging stations, how is the picture looking like as ZEMIA? How are you looking at the picture come 2024? And also, what other things are you urging government to put in place and implement in 2024?
Yeah, thank you for that. Like you mentioned, the zero rating of customs duties is very welcome, and we're happy about it. But we feel it's not enough. If we have to leapfrog Zambia into into the front of electric mobility in the country. We have to ensure we remove each and every ICE vehicle on the road and bring in electric vehicles. There's some more incentives which we need. These things include policy, whereby we need to involve to ensure that private companies are being given leeway to bring in these public charging stations. The other thing is in terms of road tax. How can we encourage other road users to ensure to migrate to EVs? One thing we should notice is we've got incentives like road tax, which is to be waived for the next 5 years. So, for example, you buy an EV, we expect that for the next 5 years you'll not be able to pay road tax. The other part which we need is for you not to be paying road tolls, and also should be given priority parking in town, because when you go in town, you find the town is flooded and you are not able to park. But if you've got an EV, you should be given priority to park, which means everyone's going to think, okay, if I get an EV, I'll be given more parking. And the other thing is in terms of we need a preferential rate for charging electric vehicles. As much as like mines are given a preferential rate, we need EV owners to be given a preferential rate of tariff for electricity so that they can be worthwhile and ensure everyone else can move to EVs. The other thing that we need on those things is to ensure that the charging stations as well, we get a policy where the private sector, all those involved in the setting up, installation of charging stations, their corporate tax is reduced. So at that end of the day, it's much easier and everyone can feel it's something to move into that space and do business.
0776 40 98 40 is the number that you are calling, and now the phone line is open. You can give us that call and engage my guest, who is Kabayo Muhau, who is representing Zambian Electric Mobility Innovation Alliance, ZEMIA, who is a co-founder and president of ZEMIA. We are discussing, is Zambia ready for electric vehicles? We've been told that at the moment we only have 62 vehicles, and yesterday the Minister of Finance announced that they have removed custom duties on all electric vehicles, 2 or 3 wheelers and the related equipment such as charging stations. And he has given us a progressive report of nations that are in Africa that are doing very well: Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and Ghana. As we are waiting for people to call in the southern region, which other countries doing better, and what have they put in place apart from Zambia?
Yeah, we've got South Africa, who are also doing very well in terms of EV penetration, and we're also learning from the right countries. One thing which I'd like to mention is ZEMIA is the second association in Africa to belong to a group called Global EV Alliance. This is the biggest alliance of EV associations in the world. So we're tapping into the best networks to ensure that we bring the best to Zambia, the best practices, and also in terms of what's needed to get on the ground and ensure these vehicles are fully adopted. So we earlier in the year had a meeting with the Norwegian EV Association. This is the country which is number 1 in the world in terms of EV penetration.
Norway.
Of course, yes, of course we've got a lot of numbers. China is gaining up, but Norway has been the leader at 83% in terms of EV penetration. So even their caterpillars, those heavy industrial equipment, they're electric. So even most of the public transportation is electric. So we had a meeting with them as ZEMIA, and also we're getting some synergies from them to see how we can move forward. And those things that we're sitting with, and also taking to our government to see how we can bring in these things.
Let's engage in a caller. Hello, good evening. Hello? We've lost that call. Please do call us. The number is 0776 40 98 40. Remember, when you call us, you reduce the volume on the TV set so that you're audible enough. You pose your question or you contribute on the program. We are looking at is Zambia ready for electric vehicles. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Chifokolo.
Good evening. Your name, sir, and where are you calling us from?
My name's Mr. Ndawa, Savior.
Chair.
Yes, and good evening to my good brother there, Big Brains, wonderful topic there. My honorable there.
Good evening, my brother. How are you?
I'm good.
Yes, sir.
I think my tungwe on this topic is Zambia ready for electric vehicles. I would have loved. I want my brother Mohau to have a different look at this whole thing. It's good to have electric vehicles around in the country, but I want to look at it on a perspective where Zambia should manufacture their own electric vehicles. I think it's high time we stopped the notion of let's import, let's bring in vehicles, I want us to look at it from a perspective of us owning our own Zambian brand electric vehicle. It's good that we are trying to move with the times, do away with fuel-propelled vehicles and work on electric-propelled vehicles. But why can't we be innovative enough and come up with our own Zambian brand? I would like to hear your comment on that one, my good brother, Honorable Mhao. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Saviors Ndawa, within Lusaka, with the manufacturing of our own, because we are, like I said in my preamble, the joint venture Zambia DRC, we are told manufacturing, electric, batteries. So you'll be able to respond to that. Hello, good evening. 0776 40 98 40 is the number. Is Zambia ready for electric vehicles? Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Your name, sir, and where are you calling us from?
This is Skylar in car dealers.
Yes, Skylar.
And, yes, we are calling from Lusaka.
Let's hear your contribution, sir.
Yes, and very much interested with the topic at hand, being one of the car dealers in Zambia. My take on this one is the answer could be yes and no at the same time. Yes, I think we are in the step in the right direction, looking at one or two things that the government has done. For example, the introduction of the Ministry of Technology, because the topic we are discussing has got a lot of technological aspects involved. For example, if we start importing those vehicles, are we going to have a number of people who will be technically ready to repair them should they have a fault? So, in as much as we are looking at that topic, I feel we should also look at how advanced we can become in terms of maintenance, our mechanics up to speed with what is happening. Because when we look at our import structure of vehicles in Zambia, I'm a car dealer. Most of the vehicles that we import are 96 to 2006, the majority. Yes, and a lot of those vehicles that are of some latest technologies, a lot of people don't want to get them because they don't have people to repair them should they have a fault. So I also want the big man there to tell me about what they've researched about people who should be able to repair these things. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's squeeze in another call. Interesting questions, interesting submissions, asking the expert who has been in the industry and also benchmarking and learning from people that are ahead in terms of EV, called EV vehicles. 0776 40 98 40 is the number that you are calling us. Hello, good evening. Hello? 0776 40 98 40 is the number that you are calling. Is Zambia ready for electric vehicles?
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening. Your name, sir, and where are you calling us from?
This is Mr. Chua calling from Surrey.
Yes, sir. Let's hear your contribution.
Sir, it's very interested this program. Yes, at least we have to be advanced. If our colleagues they are being advanced, even us also we have to do it. The decision which they have paid for electrical vehicles, it is very nice. Because as of now we are facing a challenge on fuel. So we don't know where we are going, if we shall be having a lot of fuel or not. Although fuel will be there, but now when we are using carbon, these they will have for fuel and then also they will have for electrical. It will be good. Then other challenge which we have to come into, just to look for spare parts. Are we able to be having a lot of spare parts when we are using this kind of vehicle, or it will be a challenge? Those are some of the issues which we have to look into for us also to come up with those electrical vehicles. But the decision which the government has brought up is just fine. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. We now hold the phone line and allow my guest to respond to the concerns. Saviors Ndawa within Lusaka is talking about why are you not talking about Zambia manufacturing, electric vehicles? We saw at CBU there was I don't know whether it is an EV or it uses fuel, but we saw already an innovation at the Copperbelt University. Also, Mr. Skyler, who is a car dealer, is talking about mechanics. Have you done a research? Do we have people to work on these EVs in an event that they develop effort?
Yeah, thank you very much. Those are interesting questions. Let me start with Chair Ndaba's question in terms of encouraging manufacturing of EVs. This is an interesting topic which we as ZEMIA are pushing for, to ensure the first thing, actually the first people who we are pushing for incentives are car manufacturers and those who are going to bring to start assembling of these vehicles, because we don't want Zambia to be a dumping ground of these vehicles. That's why we are pushing for innovation. When that vehicle from CBU, from that test vehicles came out, we were the supporters. We were talking on top of our voices, and we were happy that something came up. I'll give you an example of Kira Motors from Uganda. Kira Motors from Uganda, it started from Makerere University. These were students who took part in a competition at Michigan Institute of Technology. They were invited, and they didn't win, but they came as one of the run-ups. Due to that competition, when they came back in the country, the President Yoweri Museveni was very happy with their performance, and they were given funding by the government. Right now, Kira Motors has moved away from Makerere University. It's a fully fledged motor manufacturing company doing electric buses. That's why we're very happy.
EVs?
Yes, electric buses, EVs. That's why we're very happy when those students at CBU came up with that vehicle. And we do understand other colleges in the country have also done that. And so it's the ZEMIA's plea to ensure that manufacturing of vehicles is prioritized. The reason is we're going to have more employment in terms of that. Like I said earlier on, Zambia has been a quarry, and we've been actually exporting most of this because as copper as just as an unfinished product, which means most of our employment, we're pushing for employment outside Zambia actually. That's why even in the EV Battery Council that we attended last week between USA, Zambia, and also Congo, DRC, we are pushing for the manufacturing of batteries in the country. And also, that's what we're pushing for, also for manufacturers who are doing EVs to be given more incentives. That's why we talked about the corporate tax to be reduced, because we want more to manufacture these batteries, these vehicles. Only then can we improve our economy. Because we're going to push for only importation of vehicles, and simply means we are pushing for, we're just creating jobs outside Zambia. That's why ZEMIA, we're pushing for these things to be given to manufacturers. So Chiandawa, very much on point, and as ZEMIA, that's the point that we're looking at, and we're pushing for to ensure that Zambians are in the forefront of this. And I can assure you, we've got the right brains, and we've got the technology, and we've also got the right personnel to do these things. All what is needed is capacity to be grown, and also support from the government and also to the private sector.
Before you respond to Skyler, you've talked about we have the brains, we have everything. You've talked about even the minerals that we are producing. Nickel will be the biggest, nickel mine in Africa. What is it that is needed now to put the brains that you've talked about, to put the human resource, and also maybe government is watching? You've talked about job creation, that we are going to create jobs. Even the example that you've given of Uganda, I know that people have been employed after they were given, those incentives.
Yes.
What should we do now that we have everything? It's just like you are sleeping with hunger when your fridge is full. When you've got everything, you've got food, but you're sleeping with hunger. What should we do to this food that we have?
Yeah, exactly, and it's something which we've been pushing for quite some time. We've got, like we said, we've got the brains, we've got the ideas, we've got to know how it can be done. We need, maybe in terms of technology, we need some partnership from outside. But the most important thing, which is killing many entrepreneurs in the country, lack of capital, lack of finance. That's the biggest challenge. For Ugandans to be where they are, government pumped in, I think, over $100 million into that sector. So right now, the cost of borrowing is very high. I'm in business. I run a company. And that's the major problem that we have, capital, financing these projects. So you find you'd want to take this project to market, but at what cost? And we're going to borrow that. So you find the CEC is given like how much in a 300 million, like in this year's budget. How much are they giving to all sectors? So priority to be given, say, to marketeers, to those people who are maybe disadvantaged here and there. So when you go with such a project, even ourselves, we did write and say, okay, we need to do an EV a pilot project in Lusaka, and quite okay, it was approved by CEC. At the end of the day, they said, yeah, your project is good, it's very fine, but at the end of the day, we don't have enough funds for this, so maybe you can try the banks or the private companies which can offer finance. So, but at what cost? So we believe what we need most of the time, like independence in the country, is finance to ensure that these projects come to market, and also partnerships with people with the right technology to bring these things to market. So that is possible. We can do it with the right finance and the partnerships that we have.
Mechanics, Skylar, the car dealer, have you done a research? Do we have the right minds also to work on these EVs, an event that we see an influx of these vehicles being imported or being manufactured? Do we have people to work on these vehicles once they develop a Ford?
Yes and no. In the short term, not yet. We're still trying to bring up capacity. That's why in my earlier statement I said we are currently talking to Teveta to bring up the right courses, the right subjects to ensure that we've got the right technicians who can work on these vehicles. But like I say, maintenance on an EV is quite lesser. It's what you're going to spend and what's needed is not as much as demanding as an ICE vehicle. So the right programs are needed. So training of personnel is expected, and as ZEMIA have got a work group which is specifically dedicated to development of work programs as well as academic programs. So we're trying to work with the University of Zambia, Teveta for the technical courses in these technical colleges to ensure we've got the right technicians who can have the right personnel. And that goes on a statement from our brother from Solwezi, who's very happy with the pronouncement as well as his concerns about maintenance. Correctly enough, that's something which we're talking about. Even right now, as we are talking, Teveta is running a survey to understand what the country needs in terms of training needs. So it's something that is being taken care of as we speak, because it's something which should have been done like yesterday. So we expect in the next 2 years or so to have people be able to start servicing these vehicles. But in the short term, these things can be looked at locally, because basically need is based on some softwares and to be able to see what the battery's state of life and the healthiness of those batteries are doing. The rest of the things is a normal suspension, how you check your suspension, how you check your tires, basically other things which will be done the same way. So in terms of the other parts, so we need personnel, yes, but it's being looked at, and the right programs will be developed in the long term.
Kabayo, we have to go. My director is giving me a signal that we have to go. But before we go, this pronouncement has been done by the Minister of Finance. Is it done and deal? Are you comfortable, or you continue to push, or you continue to knock? And if it is possible, you can even mention the ministries or departments of government where you continue to knock to actualize this vision or this project of having EVs in Zambia, but so that we can push the number from 62 vehicles.
Yes, no, thank you very much. Like you said, are we ready as a country? No, we're not ready. We still need a lot of things to be put in place. We need right policies. We need to have charging stations at a distance of every 50 kilometers countrywide to ensure that the range anxiety from our people is taken out, so that you can have a road trip from here to Solwezi, from here to Livingstone, from here to Chipata, from here to Mongu, knowing that you're not going to go off. But is the right incentives which have been given, are they enough? No, they're not enough. We need more to be done. We need more incentives. So we're not going to stop knocking. We still continue talking to the line ministries, the Minister of Finance, the ZRA, Minister of Transport, Minister of Energy, Zambia Bureau of Standards, so that we can have right policies, right standards to ensure that we accelerate the adoption of electric vehicles. Otherwise, we started the low-hanging fruits, whatever is there, we're going to take it. But we're going to ensure that every Zambian knows that this is the future. As we always say at ZEMIA, the future is electric.
The future is electric. There you have it. We've come to the end of Matters Arising, and this is the last episode in the month of September, the last Saturday. We've been looking at, is Zambia ready for electric vehicles? My guest has been Kabayo Mohau, who is coming from Zambian Electric Mobility Innovation Alliance, ZEMIA, who is a co-founder as well as president of ZEMIA. You've heard it. Government yesterday announced through the Minister of Finance that they have removed the custom duties on all electric vehicles, 2 or 3 wheelers, and the related equipment such as charging, stations. But there is more that ZEMIA is, asking from government as well as, other departments, even private sector, to make sure that Zambia becomes ready to have EVs. At the moment, we've been told, for the first time, some of us didn't know, that at the moment Zambia has got 62, EVs. On behalf of Kabayo Muhau, my guest, ZEMIA president and co-founder, as well as on behalf of the entire production crew, we'll be back with yet another edition of Matters Arising. My name is Calvin Tabula, Chief Focus. Bye-bye for now.